Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to the second episode of my YouTube series, Stay Nerdy My Friends. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about why humans are basically blind and how the Earth came to be. Okay, so all wavelengths of light are organized into what is known as the electromagnetic spectrum, and that looks something like this. Now, what's interesting about that is that, as you can see in the middle, that little divot that's taken out, that is all of the light that the human eye can see. As you can see, it's a really small percentage, like, I think it's less than 10%. And now this is really interesting to me, because when we compare humans to other animals, like most species of fish, we're severely limited, because fish can see well into the ultraviolet spectrum, and these are teeny tiny little wavelengths. Now, the reason why fish can see into the ultraviolet spectrum is because where they are in the water, they need to be able to see that kind of stuff, otherwise they can't see anything. Whereas humans, we live on land, we have no reason to see the ultraviolet spectrum. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about on the electromagnetic spectrum is showing you the difference between humans and snakes. And this is a really good example of how more does not always mean better. You see, humans have really high-definition visible spectrum vision, whereas snakes have infrared vision, and that's really clear to them, but they can also see the visible light spectrum, but their vision is really poor in that section. So you can see where snakes have fantastic infrared vision, but poor visual light spectrum vision, and humans have really good visual light spectrum vision, but no infrared vision whatsoever. And that's a really good example of how, more doesn't always mean better. Now I'm going to teach you about how the Earth was made. Now, bear in mind, I'm summing up about a couple billion years worth of information into about a minute and a half. So I'm going to skip some of this stuff. I'm going to skip past the less cataclysmic information and give you the big steps. So, first there was the Big Bang, and for a long time after the Big Bang, there were only two elements, hydrogen and helium. And now, what happened between these two elements is they had to create all the rest of the elements, and how this happened was those two elements were cooking and fusing in the hearts of stars. And what happened was, when those stars blew up, they spread these new elements all over the universe, and that looked like this. This is what a star blowing up looks like. Now, what happened next is we had these big gaseous clouds of dust, and what happened inside of those were they gathered around large objects, and how the Earth was created is one of these clouds gathered around the sun. And all of this dust inside of this cloud, it started to gather together, and these tiny particles started to make bigger rocks, basically. Well, eventually, some of those rocks were big enough to pull the other ones in. And what happened is, that's how the planets were made. So now you have these rough, ridiculously hot planets, in essence. And that's how Earth was formed to begin with. And then how water got onto the Earth is really up for debate, but the main theory that we have is that that comets crashed into the Earth, and the ice from the comets melted, and that's how the water got onto Earth. Now, as for how all the organic matter came on, there are so many theories on here, I could do a whole other episode on that. But the main theory that scientists have right now about how organic matter came to be on the planet Earth is these things that are known as extremophiles, and these are small, single-celled organisms that can survive without food, without water, for long periods of times. Actually, the most common, the most well-known type of extremophile is something that's known as a tardigrade, and I'll do an episode about tardigrades way later down the line, or maybe just a couple weeks from now, but I'll do a whole other episode on it. So to wrap up, humans are basically blind compared to what we could be able to see, and also the almighty Carl Sagan was correct. We are made of star stuff. Thank you for watching this episode of Stay Nerdy, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Keep watching the videos. Subscribe to them if you want to keep learning about things. Send me messages on Facebook or email me at staynerdymyfriends@gmail.com. Tell me what you want to learn about. There were a bunch of people who emailed in ideas. I'm working on them. Time travel was a big one. That one's in work. I just have to work on the graphics to get it to actually make sense to people. Also, if you want to be on the show, record yourself saying my catchphrase, Stay Nerdy, my friends. Send that in to me either on email or Facebook, however you want to do it. Just do that, and I'll put it here at the end of the show. And as always, stay nerdy, my friends.